Alabama Republican Congressman Mo Brooks, who's a member of the Freedom Caucus. Congressman, you're an attorney. What is your advice to the Trump administration about how to move forward after this?
Well, the Constitution is very, very clear. It gives the President of the United States absolute authority over this type of issue regarding foreigners in other countries and their admittance into the United States of America. If I were advising Donald Trump, the first thing I would advise him to do is to appeal these decisions. The second thing I would advise him to do is make sure he has Gorsuch on the Supreme Court before the appeals get to that point. And the third thing that I would ask him to consider, and this is a little bit more aggressive, is at some point or another, the judiciary has to be put back in its place. Our founding fathers created a constitution and a form of government that's supposed to be three equal branches of government. And to a very large degree, the judiciary has overstepped its bounds. And at some point, the executive branch is going to have to do what is necessary to put the judiciary back in its place where it's a co-equal branch of government rather than a superior branch of government.
Well, I would guess that Judge Gorsuch would say whether he is sitting in his seat or not, he's not in the back pocket of the president. But here we are, less than 24 hours later since the ban wasn't put in place. Should Americans feel less safe?
Absolutely. There is always a risk when you have countries that have high intensities of terrorism and people from those countries come to the United States of America. It might be that only 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 of these people are potential terrorists or are in fact terrorists. But the more you bring in, the greater the probability that you've in fact brought in some that are terrorists who in fact will kill Americans on American soil. And so that's the balance that you have to try to work your way through as you decide how many people do I bring in from these countries where it's impossible to vet them to determine whether they are truly refugees or in fact they're terrorists in disguise, as we've seen happen over and over again in Europe.
Well, those extra 40 days involved in this vetting process, what would it really do? The vetting that we have now, what is it missing that the additional vetting will do to protect the United States of America? Because this idea that people are pouring in, they're not pouring in.
Personally, from my perspective, it is impossible to properly vet these individuals who want to come into America from those particular countries. The governments either are non-existent or uncooperative, and to the extent they're cooperative, they don't have the kind of database that we're used to having in the United States of America as we vet people in the United States of America. And even when we vet people in the United States of America, by way of example, for a classified access to document status, something of that nature, the FBI makes errors. And that's where you have as much information as you're going to be able to have as you're trying to determine whether someone's going to get a secrecy clearance or not. When you're dealing with people from Yemen or Somalia or Iran or what have you, you just don't have the information with which to make a decision that you can have confidence in.
All right, I want to turn to health care. Today, the House Budget Committee is going to be voting, and at least one Republican on the committee, Freedom Caucus member, Dave Bratt, says he will vote if 3 other Republicans vote no. He's going to say it's going to be dead. Rand Paul this morning said that's good. Take a listen.
No conservative is for his plan, and so I think his plan's dead on arrival. My hope is it never leaves the House.
Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with Rand Paul. We have to, I mean, in fairness to Obamacare, President Obama and the Democrats who put this bill together, they did an excellent job of changing the focus of the debate. The debate used to be over whether the federal government is going to be actively involved in this huge welfare system associated with Obamacare. Now, the debate is how much is the federal government going to be involved? And so, to the credit of President Obama and to the Democrats who pushed this through, they've changed the framework of the debate. But if you believe in individual freedom and individual liberty, if you believe in states' rights, then the House Republican leadership plan, quite frankly, it is the largest welfare program that Republicans have sponsored in the history of the Republican Party. And as such, it's going to undermine the work ethic, it's going to increase taxes, and it's going to increase our deficit, which in turn is going to increase our risk of suffering from debilitating insolvency and bankruptcy, which would wreak havoc with a country that took over 2 centuries of our ancestors to build.
All right, Congressman, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts this morning. I appreciate it.